preserved its solitude. San Antimo Abbey lies at the foot of the village of Castelnuovo dell'Abate and has preserved its solitude in the depths of the delightful landscape, composed of hills planted with olive and cypress trees. The abbey, which was founded in the 9th century, reached the peak of its prosperity and influence in the 12th century. There's a tour. The church is a particularly fine example of Romanesque Cistercian architecture. The Burgundian style is evident in the ambulatory with radiating chapels. On the other hand, the porch and pilaster strips decorating the bell tower and various walls are typically Lombard. Oh, it's still on. Yeah, they have that. Mama, Boba, and Bambino.
Nuovo.
Lei non mantonata. 40.
He wants to know if Mary will marry him.
45.
45.
Dai 40 ai 45. 5 anni lo battono. Grecia, fu preso Grecia al balneare.
Do you mind?
Piace questo? No, a government You know that?
I know that. You know that too. Go ahead, go sing it. Wait a second.
Tanto lei diceva, io guarda, sono vecchia, o prima o poi, ecco, quando andava al cimitero diceva sempre, o Parigino, sai, vabbè, già si sentiva le forze, ma il piatto però ecco, si sentiva che già le forze non erano più come il cibo. E gli anni,
Walk around some more.
Back down and then go to Montalcino.
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't seem like it's
This is what it's like in this town. That's like to have a little house right here. It's a great setting.
What about this garden?
Here we are at this. Which one is the peak?
Mary's question.
Oh, Miriam's question. There are very few right angles except near the bottom. And I think, that roundedness of everything,
What was the
The
question?
about how the architecture makes things spiritual.
Was your question about the architecture?
No,
it
but
wasn't.
that's,
Or it
but
was
the
like
cross
space.
is a right
Take it
angle.
however you
Except
want
for the
to.
cross.
And the rectangle on the floor is a right angle.
The
But,
apse to the nave is a right angle.
I mean, that,
Mhm.
yeah, but you're not aware of that as an angle when you're
You know, I
in
also
there.
expected
all
that
the
they
outer
would
work.
light candles as part of the service,
They do on some other,
on some other service.
yeah, that we saw them do that.
And especially Vespers, please light
Right.
candles, it's going away.
A light worshiper.
They sing until they can't read the notes anymore.
Did you
It's
see
so
the
dark.
light on both sides of the
Mhm.
bottle?
Yeah, it's really
Huh?
strong.
Yeah.
The other thing, the pattern of the six, who leads, who
Wasn't
follows.
it 5?
I couldn't figure it out.
No, I couldn't do it, but it's gotta be a pattern.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything in there is a pattern. And it's,
And even in the, in the text, you have a star for where that I thought was where you would take a breath. In other words, you'd sing
Oh, you can
a
see
bit
that?
of a line, and then there's a star below there, and then you breathe. But then there were times when they didn't. And there were times when they would change off at that point from one side to the other. So that I couldn't figure out what the pattern was.
and what about that?
Their call and response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Well,
figure out.
that's
how to
part of the
put that in.
pattern. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like a square dance almost. You have,
You think it says in their book, Jamie here, Sam here.
they come around to the back,
You know,
but they
I-
don't. I expected the voices would do that. That is that those closest to the altar might be doing something, and then the lead would move down the line in some way. But I couldn't figure out what it was.
No.
You must live in that.
And then it's
Some
more
are more
complex.
That side door.
Also more complex with the
There's a dove right on
it
it.
differs on each side. They're not doing the same thing.
But when somebody is a great cantor,
Yeah.
I mean, is there a prescribed melody for each?
Oh, I think there is.
Yeah, pitch
Yes.
prune.
It's all
It's
in
written
the text.
down too, I think.
It's not notes, but it's little symbols on
Tablature.
Look at the bird on the top. On the words.
There was a great cantor in New York. His name was Chapman. And I found a cassette tape of Israeli bookstore. I mean, it's very poor quality.
None of us have ever been to the Israeli bookstore in Brookline. However, I would like to point out that Gail has been to the Israeli bookstore.
around the corner from it, you know.
I've been there.
So you found this cassette.
But it's the most beautiful singing.
Really?
I hear you can go, is it Brookline? You can go certain nights and hear the Hasidics,
At their temple, right?
I want to ask you guys a personal
Those are quite grand, too, but they're still greatly religious places.
We think it's gonna take a little longer than that.
Yeah, because what time do we have to arrive? I can't.
Hour and a half to get there, I think we should get there by 10.
At 10. Because you think we should get there at 10 because the market might close.
do the Broadway museums.
back
By 5.
by 5.
But why do we have to come back?
For dinner.
But why do we have to come back for dinner?
I don't know,
That's
really
pretty
what we
much
said.
honestly, if we're going to the most fabulous of all the places.
Well, I'll tell you what, from my point of view, if we spend, like 7 hours on our feet there, I'll be tired.
And my back will be killing
Especially
me.
if we get up that early.
I think you all want to do this, so I accede. And we will get you up at 5:30.
That is
I
very
don't like to go early.
noble.
You might get to like it, Barbara.
I never forget to like it. I did it for many years of my life.
You did when?
With the
My
baby's
kids were
bride.
young, I used to be up all night
All
for
night?
everybody.
Little nothing.
Phones?
Yeah. One is just sounds.
Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah.
This is D, going over a manuscript for Leslie. The morning before we leave for Siena.
Study the tracks. We have warped feeling here that Catalpa, late to leave, drunk, pleased, and resolute. She must have been tracking a scent I couldn't smell, a sound, pitch, or wasn't hearing. Whatever she was after was beyond me. Fragrance, spicy air. I don't know about the line break.
Doesn't it look like it's attached?
This is the market in Siena, Wednesday, miércoles. El mercado.
Everyone is parched.
Here we are in the Campo in Siena. We just finished the Pinacoteca, and we're toasting a colazione. Do you know what that means? Brunch.
A colonoscopy.
Pienza.
It's a collection of, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Pero siempre
May it always be thus.
témoigne de Jésus.
Something about Jesus.
Con lo vero du gas.
There'll always be two glasses of gas.
And may they always be passed.
As the gas. Down, allora. Basta.
Questo gruppo di ragazzi qui che danzano mi rappresentano. Anche la spensieratezza, la gioia, la voglia di vivere, la voglia di divertirsi, rappresentano proprio c'è un momento spensierato, perché comunque non soltanto ci si sta bene. Quindi questi ragazzi che ballano, non è che l'hanno capito assolutamente no. Non è manipolato dell'università, però di questo materiale piuttosto ricco. Ma se avete fosse vissuto veramente sarebbe in ogni caso un nobile, perché subito dietro di lui c'è il suo, ma aveva bisogno di lavorare, e lui andava in campagna, deve essere così. Questo personaggio qui, questo io sto facendo tutto rosso, lo vedete? Che si vede appena, cercare di trasformare. Quello era l'unificare, ma l'unificare non potevamo stare dentro le città, innanzitutto. Dovevamo stare fuori dal rosso, rispetto alle idee del comune e alla cosa che nasce
Okay. Let's The pavement is particularly interesting and outstanding. Both? Both? That's the secret. A moment of refreshment.
Don't take any
Shall I
pictures
read
of
to you
me,
about
and
this
I don't
place?
wanna
Yeah.
see just my head.
Okay, here it is.
No bother.
Here's the deal. The facade of the cathedral.
Well, then why don't we look at it while you're talking?
The cathedral stands on a very, very ancient temple dedicated to the goddess Minerva, later replaced by a small church. The building shows clear traces of the artistic influences to which it was subjected during the long, long period of its construction. It was in fact begun in 1229 and completed only towards the end of the 14th century. In 1264, it was finished as far as concerns the central part of the basilica and the cupola. Between 1284 and 1299, Pisano, who was called in by the Cistercian monks of San Galgano, built the facade, although unfortunately he did not go beyond the lower part. The whole of this area, consisting of 3 large arches, is clearly in the Romanesque style, and viewed with vast appeal for elegant proportion and harmony, but at the same time enlivened by a marked relief due to the distribution of light and shade, which was such a feature of this 13th century artist. If you forget who that was, because it was so long ago, it was Pisano. When the facade was left unfinished at the first stage, it was decided to prolong the apse along the downward sloping ground of Valle.
Do you want to look at the
Pienza.
facade while you're reading?
I would. Let me just do a little bit more here. The cathedral underwent still further enlargement. Siena's increasing prosperity and expansion led to other plans. The present church would have been only the transept of a larger building placed transversely to it. In spite of the proclamation of this expedition against the Ottoman power, the enterprise was never undertaken owing to the lack of support from other nations. Next, 9. Pius canonizes Saint Catherine. Where is she? Fresco. The Pope is sitting in the center, surrounded by his cardinals, with the saint's body lying at his feet. In the lower part of the picture, lay persons are portrayed, among whom the portraits of Raphael and Pinturicchio himself, the arms of the Piccolomini family. Apart from the frescoes, also note some illuminated antiphanaries arranged along the walls.
All in response?
The miniatures are by a number of artists, including a copy of an original by Jacopo della Quercia, by others attributed to the artist himself. On leaving the library, blah, blah, blah.
Never.
Okay. I think that we were standing...
Okay.
Pole apart, and a pole. No major bowls, medium, minor bowls.
Tell us about the dinner list.
Let's see, this is going to be pasta alla, what is our name?
Serino.
Guardia. It has fresh everything except for the prosciutto, which is cured, and the tomatoes, which are sun-dried. Fresh zucchini, fresh peppers gotten in Siena, fresh basilico, fresh garlic, and I'm leaving something out, maybe not. And green olive oil, and it's being made with peachy pasta.
Pignoli.
Yeah.
The only way to dry.
All right, so
Right.
here goes the peachy. I wonder if you have to do anything to it. I mean, like to separate it.
You go over to olive oil and a little salt.
No.
Olive oil and a little salt. And
Are the tomatoes going to go in that? The salad, I think.
Oh, the salt, okay.
Where's that little salt?
little salt is in this container somewhere. Whoops.
Hey, Robin, you want to start serving?
Oh, up in the sky.
You want to start serving?
We saw rain.
All of this, if you get some in this way somehow?
Let me see, it really needs. But it has these in We are! No idea how they did that. Spaghetti longue. It is very longue. Alright. That look like on that side? It is fortissimo. Everyone can have seconds. We have some more on this side.
The earth for this delicious food.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank the Tuscan landscape and fields. And I'm Leslie.
Being the boss.
Leslie, here, Leslie.
I gave you,
Come on.
With my Leslie, and I said, Leslie, isn't this wonderful? And she looked at me and she said, it's nothing compared to the Grand Canyon.
She's never forgiven me.
That's only one of many things. For
But everybody does that, you see? Listen
What
to
about all
us.
the wonderful things I did for you?
It's true. We had wonderful experiences that summer.
Let's talk about a wonderful.
Hiking, we hiked way, way up in the mountains with 3 dogs.
we're gonna tell the porcupine quilt story again.
No, we're not going to talk.
You shouldn't have mentioned
I want to hear it. I love that story, I'd like to hear it. Like when somebody's home moving.
Did we tell that in Montreal?
Sure we did. And we talked outside, and we didn't have a movie camera, so do it all over. Down on the table.
What porcupine quilt story?
No, tell them how when we went
Wonderful
cross-country, we set out and Robin wanted to know where we would stay
Oh, this was funny.
every night.
Because I had never driven across the country, and I believed that the way you drove across the country was to make reservations all the way across. But Leslie kept saying to me, that isn't the way you do it. And when I would talk to my parents about it, my parents had never driven farther than, we lived in Philadelphia, and they drove to New Jersey. So they thought, yeah, you make a reservation, and that's where you're gonna be. And I would say, Leslie, how do we know where we're gonna be each night? And she would say, that's the point, we don't. We just drive, and wherever we are happy to stop, we stop. And my heart was pounding with excitement. I thought, she is really a wild kind of person. I thought, this is wild. You just get in the car and you might end up in, what's the name of that town in Virginia, the first town?
Stone Gap?
No, before Great Stone Gap. A very boring town that begins with an R, like Ruskin.
Oh, Roanoke.
Roanoke. I thought, Roanoke. It sounds so exciting. Leslie said to me, we'll be somewhere around Roanoke. Oh, I said, in Roanoke? She said, we don't know exactly. It was this tantalizing. And we camped in some campground a little outside Roanoke. And the next day, we went to find Great Stone Gap, Virginia, because Betsy Shaw was living there. And then the night after that, Leslie said, we're going to be somewhere in the Smokies. And oh, that was so exciting. The
I got
Smokies.
very angry at Robin the night we were looking for her friend in Great Stone Gap. Remember that?
Why?
Because she had gotten directions from her friend, and in her desire to be
Easy and relaxed.
easy and relaxed, she said, oh, yeah, we know exactly where we're going. Oh, that's
What about this group? Is that when we get in a jam, there are no, there's no blaming and no recriminations, and that if you haven't been so stupid,
Yeah, but if you were with one person, I mean, it's hard.
It's much harder.
Yeah.
So how did you settle it?
We finally got there, but I expressed to Robin what I
For
felt was
displeasure.
that she got the benefit of being easy and charming, but we had the suffering of not being able to find where we were going. Did you remember that, or you completely forgot that?
I remember you being irritated.
But it was the message, the lesson you didn't
One
get.
of a summer of many experiences. We had so many experiences that summer. One of the things that I did that summer,
that would be, I'd love to do that.
which was, I had wanted to see every single Indian dance, every single weekend at every pueblo. And early on in the summer, my wonderful brown sub died, went to the shop in Taos, and was in the shop for 7 weeks. So it was the only way I could get to these things was to hitchhike. So I would say goodbye to Leslie on Saturday morning, and I would stick out my thumb, and I would hitchhike to Jemez Pueblo. And I had this map, and the map said Jemez Pueblo was practically across the state. but I would just hitchhike across.
And why did Leslie go?
For some reason, you wanted to write, and I wanted to go to these Indian dances, and I went to one Indian dance after the next.
Did you?
I went.
And opening up with
Of the limoncello.
Oh, and look at the bottle. It's beautiful.
Were you proud for it, Jay?
Should we want to glaze
last
that?
night, but I'm
Yes.
eager to taste
Let's wash our glass.
Well, I don't know, that's, I mean, what do you think? What are you expecting?
Buka buka, Roberta Mouse. I mean, what makes you, are we like a period piece or a?
I'm not thinking in very philosophical general terms. It's just it's more like a recording of our week. It's more like a reminiscence.
10 years, or
Yeah.
5 at this age.
Because you grew up with home movies.
It's like a photo album. It's
Right,
like a-
exactly.
it's a
Except on the
video.
top.
Well, that's part of what we're about.
Hear how that changed over time.
Art, yeah. From beginning to end.
So if you think about conversations you might have had 10 years ago as a group.
Or even day one.
Day one of his trip.
How are you doing? Why did you make so much noise?
Gail, how is this different from these other groups in terms of the way we
Interact?
interact and do things and?
Or change the question.
It's more intense, I think.
Mhm.
Would you like to elaborate?
It's more personal, isn't it?
It's not as intense as it's gonna get.
Capture that long list. Terror.
It is more intense. You know, one of the things that has intrigued me and that I can learn from this group is your outspokenness. You know, in the way you feel about things, how you react to things, the way that you can talk about it in lots of different ways, in different layers. But that's not something that I have a whole lot of experience with. And I don't know if that's West Coast, East Coast, you know, I don't know what it is, or if it's writer, non-writer.
I think that's part of it.
You guys are much more attached to the word than I am.
Right, your
So
language
you-
is different.
Yeah, my
Everybody's
language is different, and I think that the people that I spend most of my time with are not as articulate in a way, as, or as quick, or as, maybe not as honest or as straightforward about the way you do. You know, I just think that it's, for me, it's been a very good experience to see that there's sort of safety in speaking your mind, you know, saying the things that you're thinking about.
Very special to be with people who are articulate about what they're thinking. You know, I miss it at work.
It gives you an opportunity to learn.
Well,
You don't otherwise.
well, it's stimulating.
What do you mean you miss at work?
Well, at work, you know, that there's not that kind of conversation.
You used to find your work people extremely stimulating.
My work people are good and fine, you know, there are certain things that are, they don't talk about art, they don't talk about.
Because they're working. Got that.
So.
But you have a
And
kind
I
I was-
was the only one who knew Barbara.
I was the new girl on the block last year.
You didn't know anyone.
I didn't know
Except
you
for
were
what you knew
Barbara.
Barbara. And you, like you knew Mary.
I didn't know either one of them.
But you knew
I didn't know
Mary.
Robin.
I was the only one who knew everyone. No,
I
I didn't
didn't
know.
know that.
You didn't know me.
And I didn't know Dave, I didn't know Anita.
You didn't know Arlene?
No, I didn't. Anita.
Anita.
But one thing that happened as a result of last summer is that when I went and moved to New York for the semester, I saw these two all the time. We went to museums together, we talked on the phone, and
Went out at night,
we went out at night, and your daughter gave us tickets to things, and that was so wonderful. We went to see Robert Pinsky's Dante Inferno that her daughter got us tickets to, and then her daughter got us tickets to the National Book Critics Circle Awards.
No, that was Amy.
somebody else.
That was me.
Have to meet
Well, that was your friend Amy.
Right.
But it was wonderful to be part of their world, because I had never lived in New York before, so I kind of walked into their world, and we went to museums and had dinners, and
That, I think last year, I knew fewer people. I didn't know you two, I didn't know Patricia, I didn't know Anita, and so the sense of.
So did you have 7 last week?
There.
Oh, we had 7.
7 was harder. It was harder to guide. Well, it was like the collie dog having to bark at everybody to get everybody in line like that. Never thought of that, it was 7.
I thought the real triumph of last year for me was that it did finally cohere, and that people really were nice to each other. I had a conscious awareness of suspending judgment, and more than that, giving the benefit of the doubt, and and I felt people treated me that way, and I felt in turn doing that. It was just very nice. There was the same sort of dynamic of helping with speech and helping with culture, but in addition, you were wondering, who are these people? So there's a little less of that for me this year, because I know everybody.
That was different. Well, I've been feeling kind of wounded this year, in a way that I only felt wounded for part of the time last year.
Why is that?
Ooh, I don't know, it's something I got into, I guess. I feel like it's been hard for me to find the balance between hearing my own voice, express my own needs, and compromising with other people's needs, I think. And I felt sensitive and oppressed.
Do you think that's partly because you didn't feel well?
I think it's probably made me more vulnerable.
I think it's because you've had your period since you got here. I think that's a part of it. I always feel like everyone's especially cruel during my period.
What's that?
I don't remember.
Your period? John Updike says in that recent short story of his,
Oh, yes, I
how exciting to be in a room of women who are
Who
still
menstruating.
menstruating.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you like that short story?
I have to say, I really identified with him in that story. Like the sense of everything gone, everything gone. The past gone, the relationships, the memories, the sense of richness gone.
But did you like the writing? Oh, he's a wonderful writer. That, in that piece.
All I can tell you about it is that I so connected with his sense that the time had just slipped through his fingers and all the best experiences were in the past, and then he couldn't even remember them. So that was, even though I make a big thing about remembering them and telling them over and over and over, I had this sense of the loss of that the narrator feels in that story. It's very poignant.
We just lost Leslie.
Yeah, we just lost
But
Leslie.
we're coming back to Leslie. Go ahead. I'm feeling wounded.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know whether it's anything other than a sensitivity. I mean,
Well, what is it, how does it feel? Regardless of what's at the bottom of it.
oh, I feel like everybody's, gung-ho on planning another summer, and I'm feeling like, oh, I don't know if I'm having a good enough time to want to think that way. I feel like because Robin and I had a lot of conflict last summer, my number one agenda has been not to get into a bad thing with anyone.
Yeah.
So I think I've restrained myself a lot, and because of that, I feel tamped down, and I feel like some of my spirit or my voice, my joie de vivre goes with it a little bit, And I don't know how to express my needs without, or I fear that if I do so, I'll be considered controlling or stuff like that.
That is a huge deal. We haven't
No,
had.
but do we must have a substitute so that there's something else?
Maybe.
Well, no, I'm not into that yet.
I'm just saying we haven't had one conversation in which one of us said to the other, well, what did you have, and did you put down enough, and, we haven't gotten into that once.
Right.
And that has been really nice. And I really do appreciate Gail being willing to do, I must say, the tedious job of counting out and keeping track. She has a special place where she keeps the group money, and she knows how much everybody has. I know, it's just one additional thing that she had to keep on her mind, and I really appreciated it.
Oh, my mind.
But what you're saying?
Well, this thing is that I would like to say that I grew up in a household in which from the time I was a child, I was phobic about people vomiting. My sister had epilepsy, and my parents were terrified that she was going to swallow her tongue. For this reason, I have to sit in the aisle of every airplane, of every bus, of every train, lest someone should get sick next to me and I should have to run to the bathroom. Forget if they ever get to the bathroom. If somebody is even thinking about getting sick next to me, I need to be as far away as I can possibly get. Maybe even outside of the plane. So any kind of talk about nausea or that kind of thing presses all of my buttons. And I thought you knew that. The whole thing.
Well, you told me that, but I'm
But she still feels the
in a
way.
situation where I'm in, and,
Right. And Barbara has it
And I
too. I understand.
but I,
So it isn't about you, Leslie. It's about my issue that it's a problem for me to be in a car where I have to think about it.
That's Leslie's issue too.
yeah.
On the other hand, both cars now I have a problem.
And I also feel like my skills are underappreciated.
Like what?
Like I am very good with the map and with knowing where we're going. And Dee saw that today, and I played a good role, but in general, because you decide you want to drive, and I don't know, I just felt like, I'm left to feel like I'm
Not a good navigator?
incompetent, and, you don't like my driving.
Well, I like anyone driving, that's true.
And so I'm, I don't know, having trouble feeling like I'm, making a positive contribution and enjoying my own positive contribution.
Yeah, and I feel really aware that you want to do a physical day. And I am so physically out of shape that I'm thinking, well, if Leslie wants to do a physical day, then you need to do that. But I can't do that with you because it won't be a physical day for you if I do it with you.
Well, that's sweet.
But that's all right. That's all right. But I don't want you to think if we do a physical day and I say I'm not going, then I'm not going because I don't
Well,
want
I'd
to join you.
appreciate-
Only because I'm going to ruin your
I
day.
really appreciate that frankness, because last night, I said, well, there's this, 3 options. There's the physical, the
Right.
Etruscan,
I didn't
and
say
the
a thing
something,
about
and
it.
Miriam then came back with, well, there's the Etruscan and the something, and the third idea was sort of lost, I felt, and if you don't want to do it and there's a reason, that's fine, but I just don't like it.
We did say some people can do hiking, some
Invisible,
people
Yeah, but I didn't
You didn't say
participate in that by
anything, yeah.
saying, I said,
And
oh,
Miriam,
the
you didn't
Etruscan,
say
I would
one way
love
or
to
the
do
other.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
The place is horrible. What if
It's
nobody
that's
likes
the
it?
thing, I felt
Yeah.
all that
I think
responsibility, all that
The personal
time.
responsibility that she took on was extraordinary. And what would have happened if
Of course, I
nobody had liked it?
have to say that, when I was reaching my breaking point, I called Dee, and she was
Supportive.
tremendously supportive, and then it became kind of fun, but up to that point when I was doing it alone, it really wasn't fun. It started fun like the first 2 days, and then it stopped being fun. So, I think whoever does it again should do it in tandem.
Yeah. Would people have
Somebody
supported
else.
her? If- Would everybody have, if the place had been terrible, what would have been everybody's reaction to it? If it had not been a nice
That's a good
place?
question.
If-
I really
if-
don't know.
If we landed in a place and the sheets were threadbare and the place was dirty.
And there was inadequate supplies of stuff.
Right, and everything was awful, what would you have pulled through as a group and said, it's okay, we'll make do? Or what would have happened to Leslie at that point on the part of everybody in the group?
It's a good question.
Because that's what one fears the most.
Is that what you fear?
What if ruining everybody's vacation?
Did you fear that the place would be a flop?
Well, I was pretty confident in Dan and
Yeah,
Megan,
but you
but,
don't
you know,
know.
when we were thinking about that Volterra place, I was worried about that. We almost booked another place that we knew nothing about, that we just found in the book, and the price was right, and I was worried about that. So it was just lucky that I knew my neighbor's taste well enough to.
But it's funny, because when we were driving up here, I was thinking, maybe this is too remote, and
Mhm.
maybe this is too far from the town, and,
I was too.
I was thinking, well, maybe this isn't
Yeah.
really right, and then as I've lived here these last couple of days, I've thought, I wouldn't want to be any closer to a
Well,
town,
at the-
and really it's,
At the
Well,
end
I
of our
mean,
first day in our car, whoever was in that car, we were saying, it's so wonderful to be going to this place in the country.
So nice to come home to.
You know, it's just
Yeah.
peace here, and there's this wonderful ambiance.
thinking was, you're in that position in this family. And the other thing I kept thinking is, this family doesn't need any therapists. I think that, not to say that you should take it again, I certainly don't think you should or have to, but I think that maybe part of why you did is because you could. I'm not inspiring you to do it. I'm not saying it to say that. I'm just saying you did last year and this year. I've traveled a lot, and So we just have to say it. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't choose any of the places I've traveled to over this, any of them, or last year. And so I think I really mean that. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it to say. I'm really saying something about you, and maybe that's why you wanted to choose it. Maybe you have this. I mean, you had. That's true. I have. You have a talent. You have a talent when we were bicycle riding. You have a talent when we were, to get somewhere and to know about something and an intuition. This is just I really mean that. I'm not, and I don't think you should ever do it again if you don't want to, and it should never be pain.
Well, it was all, and we walked down, you don't know about this, but 5 of us stayed in the main house, and the other 2 stayed maybe a quarter of a mile away in a bizarre situation, and I don't know what was it?
The tapestry factory or something?
Yeah, maybe. And
The family was reconverting the structure. The 2 of them had these
Guest rooms.
very interesting and beautiful guest rooms in.
they were nice, but everything was sort of falling apart around them, and they loved it, and I was just
They
so
were very
relieved,
enforced.
because I didn't know how many, I knew about the main place, but I didn't know where they would be.
Anyway, what was
Stay.
the story?
Well, the story was just that, I was very relieved and I was very relieved here that everybody loved it and told me right away that they loved it. So in that sense, I did feel
How come I didn't
appreciated
know
and
about it?
relieved.
What did
Well,
I
that
know?
what?
You said I didn't know about it.
I didn't know about the other place they stayed last year.
No, something about I didn't know how relieved you would be because I didn't know how nervous you were about it or something.
Money have I got, that we will be
Nobody home. Oh, Lord, oh, Lord, money have I owned. Nobody home. Money have I owned. Still I will be married.
Oh, it's about getting married. Oh, I just
know that one.
Shalom, Haverim, Shalom, Shalom. Let it follow, let it follow. Shalom, Shalom. Shalom, Haverim, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. Shalom, follow, let it follow. Shalom,
That's very pretty.
Follow, follow me to the greenwood, to the greenwood, to the greenwood, greenwood tree. Come.
Yep.
Shall I follow, follow thee? Whither shall I follow, follow, follow? Whither shall I follow, follow thee?
I shall marry at thy will, at thy will. And then the other part is
That's another English one.
Don't
John's
kiss
getting married.
me now. Once again,
For my love, for my love.
gently.
Thermometer was broken, and she didn't want to admit it, but my medicine is, I was skiing with my roommate from college.
Barbara, I think your mother was a Christian Scientist.
She was. She actually was.
She believes that it was your bad faith.
No,
That is the reason that you were sick.
she just didn't want to deal with being, but my roommate from college and I were skiing while we were in college, and she fell. And she fell and her finger hurt. And I said, that is like a basketball finger. All the basketball players just bend it back, and we'll bend it back. And we did. And so I said, we have to keep skiing. And each day we skied, it turned greener and greener and greener. And we got home, and it was broken.
In my family, we had a religion of doctors. If the doctor came to the house, that was a holy moment. If you went to the doctor's office, that was also a holy moment. Any contact you had with a physician put you in touch with the Godhead. Because, as my grandmother would say, medicine is next to godliness. Therefore, whenever you felt the least bit sick, you were supposed to do the one thing that God would want you to do, which is to get off your feet. Unlike Barbara's family, which believed there was great value in being on your feet, in my family, there was great value in being on your back. Cough, that's another indication you must cancel your classes and get into bed. Unlike Sally, who would have a terrible fever, and she would go off to the ADL, where I guess they had a different religion than my parents.
ADL.
Anti-Defamation League.
That was her temple?
No, that was her job.
Sally?
Sally was the New England.
On ne sait pas, hein. Ouais, l'arbre généalogique et tout ça, mais je ne suis pas occupée de ça. Non.
Frisco and the great arch.
Stands above the choir, on the other end. And then the decoration of the walls.
We didn't talk about the decoration of the walls.
And there are attempts at perspective that aren't quite there yet.
Can I just say something for a minute? I want to ask you a question. Are these squares?
Color is off.
Did you look at that thing? It's really gorgeous.
Yesterday, the guys were ending out over a precipitous slope of tufa and clay, which became unstable even before building work was finished. Since the beginning of the 16th century, restoration and consolidation work on the cathedral has been necessary because of the collapse of the zone around the apse. The visitor can see by simply walking down to the presbytery the massive difference in level.
I don't know that word, presbytery.
That's the everything behind.
Do you have to get the
Everything
wood
behind
over
the
there?
apse.
Do you see the apse collapse? And the other thing was about light. Tell her about light.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember about that. But each one of those is different, and the central one is the Piccolomini coat of arms. There we have a Jewish star. What are those called? The lunettes or the rosettes?
Yeah, the rosettes.
And the spiraling column in the middle.
The inlaid wood. Look at the
Yeah.
detail in the inlaid wood. Each choir staff has
To rise?
You can see it here very well. We can't see because it's dark, but it's so much work.
What do you do with all these pieces?
What's that small?
Focus and the picture. Sculpturas. Sculpturas.
Isn't there one that uses a lot of gold leaf because they had a lot of money and wanted to show off?
I think that might be.
Oh, this one is in 3 pieces, and then they get.
This is the only one that's in 3 sections, so it's attached to the Renaissance by that tripartite division, which separates the main scene from the pairs of saints and distinguishes this painting from its 3 companion pieces. But this guy says it isn't a return. What's all this guy?
Isn't the no?
I think probably got it.
There was women were dancing in the square.
Oh, I missed that.
So again,
And it was so cool.
They were just having a good time.
Perspective.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Well, describe it more carefully. What do you mean?
Inside the chapel, inside the Duomo,
Yeah.
this poor guy is trying to get the perspective right, and he gets these little circles in the floor, and some
Right.
of them are up and some of them are down.
Right.
And then in the back he has the background of the floor, and some of it is up, some of it is down, and that's what's going on here. They
Oh, that's right.
they
Some is
mess
up.
So this guy,
It's not mess up, it's just that they
how
did
could
it.
the inside do well if the outside didn't do well?
The outside is, he sees it flat. He sees it from top to bottom rather than from bottom to out distance.
Tu ne comprends pas ce que je dis.
Slope of tufa and clay, which became unstable even before building work was finished. Thus, since the beginning of the 16th century, restoration and consolidation work on the cathedral has been necessary because of the collapse of the zone around the apse.
Some kind of succulent.
That's right. That'll be his store.
Well, I think it's his house and he's eating from these. And those are the NATO planes, right?
Beastly hot.
Close proximity to one's neighbors. As this little piano.
That's going on at the
Correct.
Oh, very nice. Here, okay, it goes back.
It goes
Don't
back.
you think it suits me?
Let's see how it looks.
I'll repack. And how do you know that her finger
What'd you do with my
Well, as Dee said,
And who's this for, your daughter?
Her granddaughter.
Oh, your 16-year-old.
she asked for a silver ring.
She did? Love it.
She wanted.
Can I, wait, don't put it back yet.
It's gorgeous, Miriam. Are there others?
This is for you. I think you should have a gift. This is yours.
Thank you,
Miriam doesn't like
Findable restaurant
either.
tables. But Dee
I don't
Dee
have
and
to
Gail,
watch
do you guys
all
really
those
want to be in the
No,
sun?
it just pros
Yes.
and there's something ancient looking about it. I just thought of something. What about appropriation?
There's costumes.
In terms of copyright, what, I mean,
Fabulous.
So I'm just going to give this to my customer.
You can appropriate if you change it
Great.
somehow. Oh, are you smart?
If you
What a
change-
great idea.
who says poets
Because they're
don't
easy.
poet? Elliot or somebody said it.
These are wonderful. Look at this with the
That's,
tights and stripes and...
Yeah, and I love
that's
this
like
with the
something
shoes.
that,
Oh, the one with the shoes is hysterical.
This is great.
Look at these, the different slippers. This is what I
Those are
like.
shoes through the ages.
Yeah, but there's my shoes I always wear. They're still on there. Those sandals that strap over.
Cooperate, ladies. Can you recharge your battery?
yeah, so far. Is your computer being recharged now? It might be exploded by now.
What computer?
No, I mean, are you using that thing? Yeah, I'm using, but it's in my room.
What computer?
I
You brought a computer?
brought a PC.
You did?
Yeah.
I
But
didn't
last
know that.
night.
A laptop?
A laptop. But last night at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Can you see her?
as I was saying, I
Yeah.
just finished writing something,
Yeah.
and it went in blank with some reprimand, and then it went
We
blank.
don't
Let
like
us
this.
hope that our apses never collapse. What's that? Your apses?
That's the part of the church.
And our uterus never lapse. I'll drink to that.
Oh, this is good beer, I like it.
Isn't it nice?
Yes. Yeah, I like it a lot.
You like the beer?
Excellent.
Terrible beer in Scotland.
Terrible beer in
Yeah.
Scotland? I liked it.
Well, the beer that I had,
Oh,
I'm just saying,
it's
no,
not-
was not.
Oh,
it was like
I'm not thinking
tea
Scotland, I'm
water.
thinking of Ireland. I don't remember drinking beer.
Paul Caponegro is well because in it I really does it's terrific series, really wonderful.
And then what did she shift to? She continued to do
Well, the
photography.
last one that she did, she always features one artist in there. She did Nancy Webb. Nancy Webb's drawings.
Well, that's nice. What about other photographers?
When she uses photography,
Yeah, she does. She did lots of- And Nancy was so pleased,
I bet.
you know.
well, her mother is a writer, or was a writer.
Wendy Lester's mother?
Mm-hmm.
Rita?
She
What
wrote,
was her name?
she wrote the
Rita
Paul
Lesser?
Bowles.
No, that's not her mother, is it?
She wrote about Paul Bowles'
biography?
wife,
Jane.
Oh,
Jane. Yeah. Her
That's
name
her mother?
is,
No, she wrote about her mother.
right, I know.
Rita Lesser is her mother?
No, it's not
I
Lesser.
was reaching for the name.
It's not Lesser.
Did you
It's,
ever read Jane Bowles?
My sister's
yes.
hand in mine.
Do you love it?
Yeah, I love it.
I love it. I love it more than most things I've ever read.
Really?
I love it.
There was that
Love
funny story about going to camp.
it. I loved it. It was
called, like-
so dumb. It was so innocent.
Camp creativity or something.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Camp creative, like summer camp? No, I don't remember that. I just remember loving it. It was so dumb and so innocent and so uncomposed and so gratuitous.
I never saw that movie, but
Dylan is her last name. Her mother's last name is Dylan.
it was the movie about Paul and Jane Bowles in Morocco.
I saw that.
Under Sheltered Sky.
Under the Sheltering Sky, was
I
it
never
good?
saw it.
Sheltering Sky, it's Bertolucci, right?
Sheltering Sky?
Sheltering
It's very
Sky.
bizarre. It's with John Malkovich.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah?
But it's
And this woman
it's
I love.
Paul Bowles'
is
story.
Yeah.
John Malkovich.
I loved it.
You did?
What's her name, that actress that I like?
Yeah.
You know who I mean?
Yes, I know who you mean. She has dark hair and
Deborah.
Deborah Winger.
Winger.
And you wouldn't expect Deborah Winger to be so good in that movie, but she was.
She's a
I
very
always
good
had high
actress.
expectations for Deborah Winger until I saw her on one of these reveal all actors speaks talk shows. I thought
Lifetime channel.
I thought that she was a great feminist and very, you know, strong, and she just seemed like, I'm just a girl who can't say no.
Picture in that. I forget who played Burroughs, and somebody played that poet, Charles Bukowski.
Yeah.
Maybe it was,
It was one of those guys who's the son of somebody who was the actor, the son of an actor. He was always an alcoholic, getting into trouble.
Kirk Douglas is?
No, another one. But I like that one too.
that was amazing. I mean, that tried to show cinematographically the hallucinations.
Right, exactly.
So typewriters turned into cockroaches. It was fun.
Go on.
What about her, Barbara? I'm not drunk enough.
Well, somebody else
Give
start.
her another beer, would you?
Somebody start.
One more beer. D is, I can't do it.
Come on, Barbara.
Just tell me.
No.
Should somebody else hold the
D is
camera?
someone who, when she loses her keys, does not go into a panic, and slowly, through process of looking and everybody getting engaged, we find the keys and we go on. Unlike me. Oh my God, I think we need to call the car agency immediately.
And the cops. Me too.
Carabinieri.
Get the carabinieri here immediately.
No, we just get on the bicycles and ride.
Right, that's Leslie's solution.
Oh, but Barbara has some very major insights.
Things to say, but I don't have the energy. I have too much charisma.
So that takes me off camera. We found Pienza very easily in about 2.5, 3 hours, right? And we stopped in Pienza and went to the museum. Now we went to the Duomo.
First?
Yes, we saw the church,
What's the name of this Duomo?
the Duomo of Pienza.
Before you found our place? Robin, let me see that.
Yes, before we found the place.
Is that yours?
Yeah, Duomo of Pienza.
No, did we go to the place
That had all
first
the things I needed.
and then to Pienza? But we decided, since we saw the musical
You could have 3 different
thing,
kinds
to
of money
stay.
in there, Les.
And
American, French, American,
yeah,
Italian, and English.
we did go to the place first,
got
but
all
then
these,
then you decided that we should hear the
Enough
musical
credit card
thing,
things.
and I was worried that they were going to worry about
And it
us,
has
but
change
they
rates.
didn't
There's
worry
only one
about us.
problem.
And where
And we
was the
heard this
musical
wonderful
showing?
concert. It was in the museum,
So hard to
What's the
find a
name
good
of the
wallet.
museum?
the Museum of
The only
Pienza,
problem I have with it is,
and then you met that
starting to tear
Australian
down here, I think.
guide.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be open
Okay,
at the
that was
bottom,
day one.
but
Okay, that's all we
That's
did.
Saturday.
Okay.
And then we arrived.
maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not.
The rest of the group
The
arrived.
rest of the group arrived.
And we went out to
Made by
supper.
We
nine
went
Where
to
did
supper
we see it?
in Pienza,
Latte de Lune.
How much?
in the restaurant of Pienza.
Which has a
Where
lovely
was it?
bathroom,
Bought it
which I
at
just
Bloomingdale's.
It's
Pienza.
in Pienza.
But it's light, and it has,
Luna
it's
in
really
Pienza.
good, it has everything you need, you know, it has all these spaces.
Yeah, I do
I
like it.
remember, is that your
Did you get one for
stand
yours?
rest?
Can I see it?
No, that wasn't
And this
Stan
has a
restaurant.
special place to hide, there's a zippered compartment.
Camellia.
I'm very happy with that.
We saw the baby.
Good baby.
I remember the first night. Where were we?
In the
I
restaurant,
say Luna. It was up the street, and there's a beautiful photo op, right beyond the restaurant. Now, that's where the cloud went behind it. The sun went behind the cloud.
okay, that was that first day.
Well, we drove home. We parked.
How far is our house
We
from
divided.
We exclaimed over the excellent choice of site.
How far is,
We praised Leslie.
how far?
Many times.
We gave thanks to God, Leslie.
How far is our hellhole from Pienza?
It's about 3 kilometers or something, 5 kilometers.
The more descriptive.
Are you getting one, Les?
You're getting an espresso.
Espresso and
How much?
cappuccino.
He knows, they know, we keep telling them as if they...
Leslie,
Sunday, I think.
No, we arrived in Orvieto on Friday.
That's a zero then.
but what did we do Sunday, Leslie? Just tell me.
Well, I know we went to Montepulciano.
Wait, spell it.
Oh,
M-E-P-E,
P-U-L.
and same word?
Yes, all one word.
C-I-A. They don't give you little lemon peels in Pienza the way they do Roma.
I should open my lemon thing and give you a little lemon chill.
let's go for Sunday. Hurry up.
I'm trying to remember what we did besides Monte.
Said it was something else.
What is Montepulciano? It's a town around here, but was that the first thing we did?
So, restaurant at night.
But we'd had that thing where you were way up and we ran down to get the car, and we had this question about...
Was that Montepulciano?
Yeah, about whether if we walked just down the steps, we would be where we parked the car.
That wasn't Monte. Oh, yes, we went.
Yes, it was, I think. And we went to the Chapel of the Traveler, the Buon Viaggio,
The Buon Voyage.
in that little square. That's where we parked the car. Oh, before that, though, we went to the other beautiful. We went to two beautiful chapels. We went to one very, we had our picnic.
Wait, did we sing?
Oh, we had our picnic
Not here?
on the way to Montepulciano. We went to some beautiful, yeah, that was the day, and we had the picnic, I think.
And a picnic and a table overlooking the Montepulciano
Was
Hills.
that Buon Viaggio? Yeah, it was. That was Buon.
Was Porche?
How do you say that?
Oh, I can't, wait, starting.
We have to do a little slower, and everybody listening. Stuck around the place, and I did painting, and she did, I don't know, what, about an hour. So then we took our bikes, and we tested out the bikes. We were very happy with them. We went down the road and up to the left to Santa Ana a Campagna, where we had been considering staying, but I was told it wouldn't be finished in time. And Barbara and I poked around shamelessly into everywhere. They went to Deruta's, and and Dee drove right up to the place, even though it was very hard to find because she's such a genius. And then Dee picked out the piece that Robin had been thinking about but wasn't decisive about. And they shopped till they dropped.
Okay, and then what did you do in the afternoon with Barbara?
We
biked a little more down, then had our picnic, then went up, and then came home and I took a nap and I took a bath and I don't know what Barbara did. Then we went out again in the Fiat, two girls in a red Fiat. And we investigated another place I had been thinking about, and we just drove up and said, where is it? They said, right here. It was all very gay.
That you would think I could live with it.
Some Americans had just arrived. We got shown around. It was absolutely exquisite.
Is that the night you
We got very lost that night.
Is that,
We
who
came
cooked
home
dinner
late.
that night?
Gail.
Gail cooked dinner.
What do we have
What did I pick?
Potatoes.
Oh, we had potatoes. And we freshly picked
Wait, okay, and that night
lavender and rosemary
Here was her
and
trattoria.
saged and chopped it up.
dinner, and
We
what
had
was
something
it?
else
We
with
ate it.
potatoes.
Salad with the cream beans.
Salad, we had salad.
We had a wonderful
And we
salad.
had,
And fresh green beans, those French
Right.
green beans.
Oh, the salad was great.
Great.
Wait, were we on
Monday.
Tuesday?
Oh, yeah, Tuesday, we went to San.
Tuesday we went to the monks.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear the
Yeah,
monk.
where was that monk?
It was outside of Montalcino.
Between Montalcino and Castel something.
Castel Nuovo.
Oh, not Montepulciano.
No, Montalcino.
No?
We went to the monks and they were recording their music.
Yes.
So we decided to have dinner
Outside of Montepulciano.
nearby, and Leslie said we should go back to Montalcino, but we wound up only having pizza outside this little pizza place, and that's when Gail finally said we should have listened to Leslie.
The best moment in the
Right. But then we went back to the church, and the monks were there in their choir chairs, facing each other,
Is this one word or two words?
bowing and singing and
Standing and sitting.
standing and sitting and singing and coughing.
Is that
And
one word?
Is that the same day that you guys were the monks in the
Are they
church?
spelled with an A?
yes, we sang.
That was the same way I did that in Castel.
We did that in the Castle
It was
Nuovo.
fun.
M-A-N-T-E-Y.
We sang in the church in Castle
Where
Nuovo.
there was no gelati,
and that
we
was
met an Albanian.
Tuesday.
We met an old Albanian, that's right. It's all taped, okay.
And then we went back to Montalcino for a
Okay, and then...
leisurely outdoor
Besides-
gelato, and we ended up having a rushed indoor nothing.
Where are you living? What are you up to?
But I
You're a great sport about it anyway.
But I was a great sport about it anyway.
Right.
It was a little hair. And then we got lost on the way home.
It was your idea that the whole thing.
Wednesday was Siena,
You don't think so?
and the Pinacoteca.
Pinacoteca.
Pinacoteca, that's the museum. And Barbara found her way by herself.
Right, that was we went to the art museum, and that's called
The Pinacoteca, and then that was the night that Leslie made the delicious pasta and a wonderful salada, ensalada mista. And
Lots of help. I just had the concept, everybody else did the work.
and she bared her soul, and now her soul is somewhat healed.
Yep.
Good. Yet another meal at the Casa Brava.
Barbara with the 2 bottles. Classic Bible flying down the tower.
This time it's the Shapiro Tuscan
Soup.
soup.
Zuppa Shapiro.
Zuppa Shapiro. Very cute.
Fabulous garlic bread, which again rescues a saltless taste.
Penny Shapiro.
Oh, I know, we need to.